Today on Larry King Now, Resurrection star Omar Epps.
The thing that connected me to this project is I think that the connective tissue in all of humanity beyond ethnicity or social status or anything is life and death. That premise is so universal that there's no way not for an audience to at least be intrigued by, well, what's this about? The arts in general, arts and entertainment in America is our second biggest export. You know, and you look at agriculture as the first, but look how much money agriculture gets. And so we don't herald, you know, art for what it truly means to us as a community, as a society in America.
Plus,
some people just have that thing, and Tupac had that unexplainable thing.
the murder, was it solved?
And it was never solved.
No.
Yeah, I saw him that night, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw him literally half hour before he was shot.
All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now, a return visit with the great Omar Epps, one of my favorite people. You know him as Dr. Eric Foreman for 8 seasons on the hit TV show House, also starring in films like Juice, Major League, and Higher Learning. Major League 2, not Major League 1.
Right.
And Love and Basketball. He serves on the board of directors for the Creative Coalition, a nonprofit and advocacy foundation. And now he's back on your TV screens in the new ABC drama Resurrection. It airs Sunday nights at 9 Eastern on ABC. What a show. Did they come to you right away to play this part?
Yeah, they came to me. I read everything out there, and this script just really jumped out to me. I was just like, wow, this is completely different. I love the approach at this, you know, this big what if, you know, what if people could return? But it was a very, for lack of a better word, like an organic approach. It's really about like, what do ordinary people do under extraordinary circumstances? So I was just like really amped up.
And your part, of course, is you're the provocateur. You are the interloper. You are the what's happening here, right?
Yeah, exactly. I call Bellamy, he's the eyes of the audience.
You're the house, you're the immigration service, right?
Yeah, immigrations, and he gets thrust into this situation just trying to do his job, but he's kind of like the witness. He's, along with the audience, he's watching these events unfold and then, of course, trying to figure it out.
You saw a lot of scripts between House and this?
Yeah, I read a lot of scripts. I call it my first pilot season technically because, you know, when I'd done House, that was the first time I was ever really doing TV, so.
You were a movie yet?
Yeah, I did a lot of films and I just booked House, so I never really went through that process, and this was the first time I was like, let me.
Now the show is based on the novel The Return.
Yes.
Were you surprised at how well it did? I know they promoted the hell out of it.
I'm, you know, I have this thing where my mantra is like, you plan for success because failure is going to happen. But, you know, you can never gauge how big a thing's going to be. I was kind of blown away. You know, I didn't have any expectation. You know, I really just didn't have any expectation. We did our work. Let's see what happens. They promoted it incredibly. But, you know, I was kind of bowled over by the numbers.
Was the show the pilot?
Absolutely. Yeah. And some tweaking, you know, some fine-tuning things, because once you bring a cast in and you get a great actress like Frances Fisher and what she brings to the table, Kurtwood
How
Smith.
many have you shot so far?
We did 8.
Did you think the public would buy the premise? I mean, it's kind of, there's a Stephen King aspect to this, too.
Well, I think it's one of those things where, here's the thing that connected me to this project is I think that the connective tissue in all of humanity beyond ethnicity or social status or anything is life and death. Like, we're alive, and physically at least, we all have a day, and I think that is a universal thing that we literally always think about in the back of our minds. We're watching the news.
That's why there's religion.
Exactly. So that premise is so universal that there's no way not for an audience to at least be intrigued by, well, what's this about and how's that possible? And then I think that the way that we weave the story, you know, the audience got a chance to be creeped out or whatever, but be intrigued and interested, you know, because it doesn't have this ominous undertone or supernatural sort of thing. It's just very naturally happening.
Do you think along the way, as its success grows, we're going to learn more about your character?
Oh yeah, well we have to, and we dive into that in the first season. We get a glimpse of, you know, where.
Is he going to have a relationship with that?
With a doctor?
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Looked like it.
You know.
It was a hint. I look at those things. I'm a Scorpio.
You're good,
We're good. Why is supernatural phenomena appealing? Is that due to the death thing too?
I think it is. I think it's this thing where, you know, we're all on this one planet and we're all experiencing things that are affecting all, you know, whether it's, you know, what happened in Japan, what happened in Indonesia, you know, what's happening in Chile, with, you know, these sort of seemingly cataclysmal things that even though we're sitting right here, that, you know, we're so connected now, we're seeing these things firsthand and in the back of our minds, you know, we're in LA, so they've been talking about we're overdue for the big one for how many years, and you know, you get any little shake, you're like, man, what would. And
a classic example is a plane to nowhere.
A plane to nowhere.
Where's that?
It's crazy, you know, I mean, you know, all you could do is, you know, pray
and wish the best for those families. But that's part of our wonderment.
Yeah.
You do a television show about that, probably go 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, if it happens enough times.
Put the people on the plane, have them all die, but they come back out of the water. You left film for TV. Now, others have done this. Other actors have done Kevin Bacon, Kevin Spacey, Robin Wright.
Yeah.
This is Greg Kinnear. Mm-hmm. This the new thing is going to the old days, actors would not do television.
Yeah, well, I think that what I really think is that there's no more line in between the two. You know, we, as actors and artists, you go where the work is. And, you know, we're taking chances on television. We're getting a chance to tell stories that maybe don't work in the format of a film, which is finite. But I think the lines are blurred. I think now you're able to do both. And then you have, you know, new media and you know, webisodes, and you just have all these different
and
forms.
The internet.
Yeah.
So HBO, I think, is the biggest movie maker in the country, right? I think they make more movies than Warner Brothers.
Right.
You do a lot of socially conscious films. Is that by design?
Half of it is by design, half of it is by fortune. You know, I mean, as an entertainer, you know, our job is to entertain. I think a caveat to that is being able to entertain people and give them something to really digest and think about. And those are the things that inspired me to be an artist, you know, coming up seeing, you know, Sidney Poitier and the relevance of the things that he did, or the whole Spike Lee renaissance. You know, I was in high school, and like the music and hip hop culture from them was really about empowering the people and inspiring the people. And so, you know, I want to be able to continue that.
You were first a writer, right?
Yeah. Well, if you want to call it that, you know, I was a poet. You know,
really?
Yeah, I was a young kid, wrote a lot of poetry.
In Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn.
A poet in Brooklyn?
Poet in Brooklyn.
How many times
How cliche can that be?
How many times you get beat up?
Well, again, you know, when I was growing up, it was really about the village raising the child, and so we were just kids who, you know, we were kids of the activists, so to say, and so we were about empowering the community and each other.
What kind of name is Epps?
Epps is...
I imagine it's your real name.
Yeah, it's my real name. From my studies, it's an English name. Apparently, the first Eppses in America were two brothers from, I think, Southampton, England.
The arts, politics, and juice when we get back. We're back with Omar Epps. He stars in what's going to be the runaway hit of the new season, Resurrection, Sunday nights on ABC. The board of the Creative Coalition, we touched on that the last time you were with us, and we did our political thing. Yep. What is that?
Creative Coalition is a nonprofit that, you know, we advocate to keep federal funding for public arts programs. A lot of arts programs throughout the country have just been, you know, cut, and it's, you know, we just feel it's criminal, actually. So we're constantly trying to fight to keep these arts programs alive.
The White House, what, they did a federal funding of $146 million?
Yeah.
They want to preserve the funding for the arts, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we look at it like this, you know, and this is all facts, these are numbers, you know, the arts in general, arts and entertainment in America is our second biggest export, you know, and you look at agriculture as the first, but look how much money agriculture gets. And so we don't herald, you know, art for what it truly means to us as a community, as a society in America. You know, it comes down to the numbers, but then also socially and you know, the effect that it has on kids and you know, in terms of reading, writing, and working with people, learning how to work in teamwork. It's just phenomenal what the arts can bring.
I think we're the only country without a national theater.
Well, I mean,
we don't have a national theater.
That's sad. That's sad. I mean, when you do the numbers, I mean, you look at a country like, and this is kind of random, but like Colombia. You know, Colombia from the 80s and early 90s, how we knew it was crazy, and a big part of the Colombia turnaround was the arts. You know, artists started to sort of take over you know, and it brought, like, you know, communities back together, and it brought people and families back together, and they took back the country, and it's much better now. So
You glad you came from Brooklyn? Oh, man, Brooklyn is the best
I mean,
place.
you know,
Hey.
you know how we are. We're Brooklyn guys, so
Hey.
we're like the most proud. You know, we're the most proudest borough in New York.
Everything else is Japan. You were on my show before the election.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of Obama's second term?
I think he's doing pretty well. You know, I think it's you know, the thing with he's trying to do what he can do. I mean, I think he's done some things with healthcare that are great. I think he's, you know, definitely, you know, followed through with drawing us down as a wartime country, so to say, and trying to get this economy together. Look, it's hard. It's like we live in this microwave generation where everybody wants everything instantly, but it doesn't work that way. Like my mother was an educator for 35 years in the Board of Ed, and she helped literally turn around like 2 or 3 schools. But I saw her firsthand. It took her years and years to turn around a school, you know, and that's just a school. Imagine a country. So, you know, I think, you know, he's done what he's set out to do, and I think he's hopefully setting us up for whoever takes office next to take the baton and run with it.
Are you going to be active again in 2016?
Yeah, definitely.
The first job that you booked out of high school was a dark film called Juice.
Yeah.
Which had Tupac Shakur, right?
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
later got killed.
Yep, yeah.
Did you think he'd get that big?
Well, again, you'd never know, but I did think, I didn't know how big he was going to be. But you could feel it. You know, some people just have that thing, and Tupac had that unexplainable thing. You know, he was a man of many faces, so to say. So articulate, so well read, and yet
You like him?
Loved him. Great, genuine person, charismatic, super talented, loyal. You know, down to earth, grounded.
Sold 75 million records.
Yeah. But you know, Pac had that thing where he was sort of a troubled soul in a sense. You know, he was carrying something, and I think the timing of when we all sort of came into the public eye and where the culture was in terms of hip hop culture was at that point. You know, it was in flux of being this movement into a multi-billion-dollar business, and he was sort of at the front of that. So it was a lot of pressure and a lot of personal demons that I think he was fighting.
The murder, was it solved?
It was never solved.
No.
Yeah.
It was on the street, right?
It was on the street in Vegas. Yeah, I saw him that night, actually. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, I saw him literally half hour before he was shot. So that was kind of
Where were you, at the
spooky.
club?
No, we were in Vegas. We were at the fight. You know, it was me and a bunch of my friends. We all went to the, it was Mike Tyson fought, I think it was Bruce Seldon, if I'm not mistaken. And like we saw, you know, saw Tupac. We happened to be staying at the same hotel. Hadn't seen him in years. We hugged, you know, asked, how's your mother doing? Everything was great. And then like, you know, wake up 6 in the morning and they're like,
What a shock that must have
Tupac got shot. But then the funny thing was, they were like, oh, he'll be all right. He always gets shot. Like, you know, but it didn't turn out.
What do you think of the rumors they're going to remake it?
I mean, you know, some things, you know, if they're going to remake it, hopefully they do a great job.
Was that movie a big hit?
It was pretty big, yeah. I think it was a bigger hit culturally than it was in the box office.
What was your break?
I would say that was my break. I mean, that was my first.
Not House?
Well, House was a break in a different. To me, House was my second quarter. You know, it was like I had established myself as, you know, a movie star, and you know, hopefully people respected my work. And then House just took it to the next level because it was a worldwide phenomenon. So
It's interesting, your 2 television successes, and obviously Resurrection's going to be a major success, were really offbeat.
Yeah,
House was offbeat.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. The other thing is I love challenges. You know, like after 8 years after the fact, you know, or 8 seasons after the fact, rather, people can say, oh, House was such a great thing. I remember in the beginning, people were like, how's this gonna, you know, who's gonna like that guy? How is this gonna translate? It was a challenge, and I see the same thing with Resurrection. You know, there's a challenge there.
How a Brooklyn boy roots for the Dallas Cowboys when we get back. We're back with Omar Epps. He stars in the hit new TV show Resurrection Sunday nights on ABC. Okay, you grew up in Brooklyn.
Grew up in Brooklyn.
Why the Cowboys?
I was a big Tony Dorsett fan. That was like my guy growing up, you know, as a little kid, and I played football, and I wanted to be Tony Dorsett, so he was a Cowboys. I was a Cowboys fan, and been
You were a
since then.
good athlete?
I was decent, you know.
You played athlete.
Yeah. I was super athletic. I thought I was the guy, but I don't think I was the guy.
Did you have a baseball team, a Yankee?
Yankees, yeah. You know, New York teams are like the Yankees. Of course, now the Nets, you know, we're in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, hey.
Yeah, we haven't had that since the Dodgers, so of course I'm a Nets fan, so.
What about Derek Jeter? You think he's going to go out well?
You know, I think I love Jeter, man. He's just awesome. He's done it the right way, he's straightforward, and I think he's good. It's the right time for him to step down and say, you know what, I had a great career, and go out on his shield, so to say.
We have a photo of Mike Timlin, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and well, who's who?
Well, put it like this: at least I know if they ever make a movie about this guy, who else you're gonna go to, right?
Have you met him?
I've never met him before, and it's ironic because he's the Steelers head coach. And I'm a devout Cowboy fan, and so, we just despise the Steelers, especially because they got one more ring than us now in franchise history. So it's sort of a bittersweet thing, but I think he's a great coach, You
think you can win with Romo?
I think it's deeper than Romo. I think if Jerry brought in a GM to run and he just run the business and bring in a football guy to run the football ops, then we have a shot.
People are starting to compare him to the Knicks, where the owner is a great businessman.
Great businessman.
Too intrusive in the...
I mean, and the Knicks are like, this is like since the 80s, like the Knicks have, they have their front office just makes some really interesting decisions.
Is there an LA team you root for?
I like the Lakers. I mean, I'm a Kobe fan. I'm a Kobe fan, so I was a Shaq fan. The Lakers are cool. Their front office...
Question two,
is in disarray, so they need to get it together. I
like Kobe, I like the Lakers, but my kids are Clipper fans, because they get the young fans.
You and Penny Marshall.
Yeah.
Like, I used to see Penny Marshall at the Lakers games, and she's like, I can't wait till the Clippers come. So I always, when they brought Chris Paul and all those guys in, I think about her, I feel good for her.
Chris Paul was going to be a Laker, they turned it down. What do you think of the popularity of fantasy sports?
I see why people do it. I can't do it. I can't do the fantasy sport thing. I can't, I root for my team and that's it.
I can't root against someone.
Yeah.
I'm at a Dodger game, I go to all the Dodger games, and I see fans of the Dodgers rooting for Tulowitzki to get a hit when he's up in the 8th inning in a tie game because they got him in a fantasy.
Yeah, it's a selfish thing that I get. I get why people do it. It's fun, like office pools or whatever, but I can't do it.
What do you think of the NFL's idea to ban the use of the N-word?
I mean, I think it's,
Can it work?
I mean, it probably could work on the field, if these guys know they're going to get fined and, if the refs can hear them. But, it's an interesting thing. It kind of makes you look at, well, who specifically are you talking about using that word? And so it's one of those things I get what they're trying to do, but
a lot of people use it in friendship.
A lot of people use it in friendship, and a lot of people use a lot of other words. There are a lot of other, I think if you ban all quote-unquote curse words or derogatory words, that's one thing.
Got to change the Redskin name.
Right. You got to look deeper. So, but, I get what they're trying to do. But in the heat of competition, you got to let these guys go and do what they do. That's the one thing how the NFL's changed. Like, you can't celebrate in the end zone anymore together. You can't do this. You can't. It's just like, let these guys explode and let their passion out. I mean, they're so, bundled up, and to finally, get something, do a kick return or throw the touchdown. It's like everything is so poised, and it's like I like the passion.
Me too. What about college athletes being paid? That's a big movement. In fact, there's a lawsuit.
You know what? That one's tough. That one's tough because I listen. These universities. No, I didn't. I was gonna go and I booked my first film, but these universities make a lot of money off of these kids. Period. Right. So there is a check and balance that I think should be in place. The way that they do with these kids, like you can't take money from the boosters, and you can't do this and you can't do that, but then they'll go sell their jersey and make millions of dollars for the the university. I think there's something, and maybe it's not so much that they pay the kids, maybe they allot a certain amount of the money that they make and take care of these kids, pay it forward. Maybe that goes into some sort of healthcare fund, or some sort of fund that these kids can touch if they do go on to the league and achieve certain things. I don't know what that would be. But I think, it's at a point where college sports is so big, you got to address that. You have to address it in a realistic way, because they make these TV deals, they're making millions of dollars. They're selling jerseys, they've got merchandising. It's like, come on, guys, you got to, play it fair. And especially because I don't know what the number is, but in my head, I would say 9 out of 10 of these kids is not going to go on to a pro, the pro league of whatever that sport is, baseball, football, basketball. So it's like, in a sense, they should be compensated.
I'm going to give you a poetry question.
Uh-oh.
Can the Heat repeat?
That was a good one. You know what?
I just came up with that.
You know what? The Miami Heat can absolutely repeat. you know, and I think that they're ramping up. I mean, look, LeBron is just that guy, you know, and they've got the supporting cast. And what they've shown in the last few years is that, you know, they know how to peak at the right time. So I think that, you know, they're starting to get that engine running, their motor running to start to peak again and take a stab at it.
Have you seen a player improve like Blake Griffin?
Blake is doing
unstoppable.
He's doing pretty good, but you know the thing is, got to do it when it counts.
He's in the MVP picture now.
Got to do it when it counts, though. You got to do it when it counts. That separates the good from the great.
Well, he's been doing it pretty good.
He has,
got
but
injuries and he keeps carrying on.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Paul's the key to that team.
Yeah, Chris Paul's it. He's
he's the best.
Yeah, he's the best. He's phenomenal. You know, pretty much. Hopefully, he can stay healthy. But those guys are definitely the big dogs in LA now.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
The Laker phenomenon. When Kobe, you think he can come back? I mean, that's a tough injury.
I mean, Kobe can come back. Personally, I said this when I was talking to Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, that I wish Kobe would just go to another team. Like, go to wherever, you know, the Nets, you know, Chicago.
You really want him to go somewhere?
Go to San Antonio. Just go somewhere where we can see the twilight of his career, even if he doesn't win, you know, in the right way. Sort of the way that Peyton Manning went to the Broncos.
And it with a good team.
And it with a good team. I don't want to see Kobe go out like, you know, Emmitt Smith when he was on the Cardinals. You know what I mean? Like, but then again, there's honor in sinking with the ship, so to say. So
Willie Mays on the Mets. That didn't work. A house reunion and a game of If You Only Knew right after this. We're back with Omar Epps. Resurrection airs Sunday nights at 9 on ABC. I hear you're pretty passionate about the tech industry.
Yeah, really.
Like in what way do you?
Well, I'm on the advisory board of a few companies. I'm invested in a few companies, but that's sort of my secret passion is technology. It's been for years.
You're doing more projects in the future?
Absolutely.
Why are you fascinated by it?
I always have
Usually people in the arts aren't.
No, I always have been. I mean, I look at something like an iPod and just how phenomenal it is. Like, you know, it makes life easier in so many different ways. And then I also look at the juxtaposition of, you know, why there are surgeons who love to listen to music when they're, you know, doing surgery and how it stimulates them.
But it's changed the world. Dave Barry has a new book out. You know, there are kids that don't know how to write a letter.
Yeah. You know, it's
Never
funny.
written a letter.
I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were saying, when's the last time you memorized a phone number? And I was just like, yeah. You know, you used to have to memorize your whole phone book. Now it's just like, you know, you just
We have some
down.
social media questions for you.
Okay.
Selvert Keela tweets, how is it hanging around and working with Tupac?
Oh, Tupac was great. Again, he's a very passionate guy, super smart. We had a lot of fun. We were all kids. I was 17, he was 19, so we were like living the dream then. That was great.
At Resurrection Pod, there's a Resurrection Pod,
All right.
asks, Bellamy has to choose what is right by law versus the right thing to do. Where are you personally on that internal debate?
That's a good question. I am split down the middle, actually, sort of where Bellamy is. He's split right down the middle. I mean, there is, you know, he has to follow rules. He is a government agent, but at the same time, his heart is experiencing something that can't be defined by paperwork, so to say, and by rules, and so he's stretching, he's bending.
There's a classic example in the world today, security versus living, for example. Right. Let's say you tell the president, we know this guy in Pakistan, an American citizen, is planning to blow up a building.
Right.
We know it. Would you drone him?
Right. I mean, that's, you know, slippery slope, so to say. Yeah. But you got to make a decision.
Bryson Knox on Facebook. Any possibility of a House reunion?
I just saw David Shore not too long ago who created House, and we actually joked about that. I'm sure sooner or later there'll be some sort of something, you know. I don't know if there'll be.
He's a great guy, by the way.
Who, David?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's my guy.
A little game of You Only Knew. I just throw out questions. Okay. First girl you ever kissed?
Do you want me to say her name?
Yeah, what the hell?
Cheryl Atwell. Went to junior high school with her.
In Brooklyn?
Mm-hmm. In Brooklyn.
You ever find out what happened to Cheryl?
Last I've heard of Cheryl, she was working at a radio station in New York.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She kind of, what's your pet peeve?
Pet peeve is unorganization. Like, it drives me crazy. I'm kind of a neat freak, and, you know, I need things done a certain way.
Favorite TV show growing up?
A cross between Good Times and The Jeffersons. Those are my shows.
Hero?
Hero in life is my mother. Sidney Poitier is up there.
Great
yeah,
guy.
Yeah.
Love and basketball, juice, or the program?
Oh, man. Selfishly, I say the program for me, because, again, I wanted to be, a running back, starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys. So I got to live out my fantasy by playing football in the program.
Favorite sport to play?
Split between football and boxing. Those are my two.
You boxed?
Yeah.
Hidden talent we don't know about?
I'm a pretty damn good cook, actually.
Was there a role you went up for that became a big hit?
Yeah, actually. There was a film back in the day called Dead Presidents, which is a great movie. I
like that movie.
Yeah, and I went up for...
Money.
Yeah, I went up for Lorenz Tate's role, and I didn't get it. And that movie came out, and I watched it like everyone else, and I was a little sore about that one. It was a great movie.
Did you have a mentor?
My mentor, I would say one of my mentors, was Keenan Ivory Wayans. I grew up with Marlon Wayans. That's like my brother, and we've known each other since.
Great guys.
Yeah, we grew up together, and Keenan's always been sort of a mentor in the business and in life and manhood.
Favorite vacation spot?
I don't know yet. I've still got, Amalfi Coast is pretty beautiful, though, I must say.
New York or Los Angeles?
Oh, New York. That's kind of no fair.
But you live here, right?
I do live here.
What's the most important lesson you've learned in your career?
I think the most important lessons I've learned in my career thus far is to, believe in yourself. Just keep believing in yourself and follow your own tradition, so to say. You study the past and you respect it, but you got to make your own way. And it just has to, it goes back to believing in you. If you don't believe in you, it's going to emanate from you and no one else will believe in you.
Off that now, in our final moments, when you see movies like 12 Years a Slave, or you read about the history, do you retain some anger?
That's a great question. I actually don't, because of where we are in society. It's more of a, I'm 40 years old, so when I was a kid, Roots was like it, and so I sort of, there's a part of me that feels like it's never going to be that, which was just such a broad depiction of the reality of it all. It's like sort of, why do we need to revisit that? But maybe there's a younger generation that is just removed from that, and they don't get the atrocities that slavery was. So for me, it's more of a, there's a compassion that I feel, and there's a warmth that I feel that we're evolved enough to discuss these things and to have discourse about these things. And because if you look at every ethnicity has gone through some form of it, some,
but no person,
the Jews and the African Americans, Africans, it's like.
We have a bond.
We have a bond, yeah.
Thank you, man.
Pleasure.
Let's do a lot more. Omar Epps. I want to thank my guest, Omar. Make sure you watch his new show, Resurrection. You're going to love it, on Sundays at 9 Eastern on ABC. And you can find me on Twitter at King's Things, and I'll see you next time.